Chapter 17. The Miracle. My companion said, "I do not understand how a merciful Lord, whom you describe as compassionate, loving, generous, pardoning, and forgiving, could command his close and beloved prophet Abraham to slaughter his son. Do you not see with me that this is a matter difficult to believe?" The story, from its context and events, indicates that God's intention with Abraham was not the actual slaughter of his son, as evidenced by the fact that the slaughter did not occur. Rather, the intention was for Abraham to slaughter his excessive passion for his son, his overwhelming love for him, and his extreme attachment to him. For it is not permissible for the heart of a prophet to be attached to anything other than God, not to worldly matters, nor children, nor status or power. All these things are not fitting for a prophet's heart to be attached to. And as is known, Ishmael came to his father late in his life, in his old age, so the old man became intensely enamored with him and attached to him. Thus, God's test for his prophet became necessary. What happened in the story confirms the soundness of this interpretation. For as soon as the prophet complied with the command of his Lord and raised his knife to slaughter his son, the command from heaven came with the ransom. And what is your opinion about Abraham's wondrous miracles, such as entering the fire without being burned? And what Moses did after him when he brought forth his serpent from his staff, and when he parted the sea with that staff, and when he drew his hand from under his arm and it became white? Do these matters not seem to you, in your heart, like theatrical performances? And how does God demonstrate his power and greatness with these theatrics, which are in themselves kinds of absurdities and examples of breaking the system? Does it not seem that the stronger proof of God's greatness is the system, reason, discipline, and the laws in their beautiful flow throughout the universe without being breached? You have misunderstood the miracle and perceived it incorrectly. In your perception, a miracle is a theatrical act and a violation of laws, something absurd. But the truth is otherwise. Let me bring the topic closer to your mind with an example. If you were to go back 300 years and enter upon the Pharaoh of Egypt in that bygone era, carrying a transistor radio the size of a matchbox that speaks and sings by itself, what would be the state of the Pharaoh and his courtiers? They would undoubtedly exclaim in astonishment, "A miracle! Magic! Absurd! A breach of all laws!" But we now know that there is no miracle in the matter, no magic, no breach of any law. Rather, what happens inside the transistor is something that occurs according to the laws of electronics, and it is entirely rational. The matter would be even more astonishing if you entered upon the king of Babylon with a television transmitting images from the land of the Romans. The king of Assyria would clap in amazement if you played a plastic record for him and it spoke. Indeed, history does not record for us a similar story. When the colonizers descended upon Africa and the first of their airplanes landed in the jungle among the primitive natives, what happened? The naked Negroes prostrated on their faces, beat drums, sacrificed offerings, and thought that God had descended from his heavens. They perceived in what happened a breach of all laws, while we now know that the airplane flies by law, lands by law, and is designed according to precise engineering laws. Its flight is entirely rational, and it does not nullify the law of gravity, but overcomes this law with another law, which is the law of action and reaction. We are thus faced with a hierarchy of laws, not a breach of laws. Water ascends in the trunk of a palm tree against gravity, not by breaching this gravity, but through a set of physiological laws that interact with it, the law of water-column cohesion and the law of osmotic pressure, all of which are laws that lead to drawing water upward. We never depart from reason or the rational. What happened were not theatrics. Rather, the astonishment of the primitive Negroes was due to their ignorance of these laws. Similarly, your astonishment at Moses parting the sea, bringing forth his serpent from his staff, Jesus reviving the dead, and Abraham entering the fire without being burned, you imagine them to be absurd, breaches of laws and theatrics, while they all occur in accordance with divine laws that interact with the laws we know. They are therefore forms of system and rationality, but of a higher order beyond our comprehension. God does not demolish the system with these miracles. Rather, He makes us witness a higher system, higher laws, and a greater mind than our capacity to comprehend. The Baha'is fell into the same error as you when they rejected miracles and imagined that accepting them was an insult to reason and a disdain for the intellect. So they contrived against the Quran and distorted its meanings away from their apparent ones. They claimed that Moses did not part the sea with his staff. Rather, his staff was the law that separated truth from falsehood. Similarly, his right hand was a symbol for the hand of good. Likewise, Jesus revived souls, not bodies, and opened minds, not blind eyes. Thus, they took the Quran out of its literal meanings into metaphorical and symbolic interpretations whenever they encountered something their minds could not rationalize. This was because they misunderstood the miracle and perceived it as absurd, a breach of law, and a demolition of the system, the same thing you have fallen into. The truth is that we live in an era where miracles are no longer astonishing. We have seen science take us to the surface of the moon. If human science has given us all this authority, then divine knowledge can undoubtedly provide us with greater authority. Listen to this beautiful verse. O company of jinn and mankind, if you are able to pass beyond the regions of the heavens and the earth, then pass. You will not pass except by authority. This is the authority, human science, and greater than it is divine knowledge.